And we're live.
I I have to look it up. I had to work with this once. It's like every 4 years, unless the year is a century year, but it does count. Oh yeah, all right. So it's every 4 years, which is the part people know. But if the year is divisible by 100 and not divisible by 400, it's also that year. But if it's divisible by 100, they're so for example, 1600 and 2000 are leap years, but 1700, 1800, and 1900 are not leap years. It's not every 4 years. Every century, you don't do it unless it's every fourth century, which you do it. I don't know what I was writing that they thought this was going to be an issue, but yeah.
They were really getting ahead. This must have been after Y2K. But we're like, look, when the year 2550 comes along and we need to get this shit straight, you're the one they're going to blame if it's not right. And you're like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I'm not going to be here. Yeah.
We're going to dock your pay 80 cromulans.
Not that simple.
Yeah. Cromulans.
Yeah.
You won't get your food cut chip that day.
Yeah, it's every fourth year, unless it's a 100th year, and then unless again it's a 400th year. Weird rules.
Well, alrighty then.
Yeah. And then they just add seconds and shit every so often. So that's it.
Yeah, you just leak seconds. That's
more like a chef, though. You know, a dash of seconds here. That's just like until it feels right.
Yeah, until you've got to like get a missile to launch the correct way, or coordinate something like that, or like get two pieces of a spacecraft to join up and their computers aren't exactly right, and then a bunch of people die. Those leap seconds might come in handy. Might be a big deal.
Probably. I don't even like thinking about how complicated everything is to keep everything going, because it just really opens your eyes to like, man, if all of society crumbled and I had like 30 versions of myself to work with to get it back going, like to learn stuff, it'd be like, there's no chance. There's a 0%. I could go to the library and find a book that says how to turn the electricity back on, or whatever the fuck it would say, and I still couldn't figure it out. Like, do you think
we could? Yeah, we could. Look, we're not going to go to Lake Kiowee nuclear plant and get that bad boy fired up, right? But I feel like a group of intelligent individuals could, without engineering training per se, could sit down and read some literature if it were available in that time, and maybe figure out how to get the early workings of electricity back up and running. There's certainly plenty of fuel laying around, plenty of infrastructure laying around. So hopefully, unless, I guess it depends on what kind of disaster we're talking about. If it's some sort of like, you remember that movie Escape from Los Angeles with with Kurt Russell? At the end of it, he uses this global super weapon that uses all these satellites in orbit to basically EMP the whole planet permanently, so that no electricity will ever work on the planet. And I started thinking, like, shit, if that happened, like, how do you get going again? Because like you can't even get up there to turn it off, right? Like, you got to start building some like conventional cannons and like
a very large ladder.
You got to be like aiming fucking cannons at those satellites, hoping you're gonna hit one.
Let me introduce you to the Trebuchet subreddit.
Those things are orbiting at like 300 miles.
There's some math involved. I'll grant you that.
Yeah. Now that was the original idea. There was a guy, when in the beginning of the space program and everything, when launching satellites, we were trying to figure out how we're going to do this. Which, come up with the rocket designs, whether we want the multi-rocket systems like the Soviets used, or we wanted fewer rockets. I think the Saturn V maybe uses 5 or something like that. But anyway, it's very expensive to get that satellite into outer space. And there was this one guy that said, well, shit, why are you using rockets and liquid fuel? No, let's build a cannon, an enormous cannon, so goddamn big that we have to bury it because the barrel couldn't even be supported. So they did. They built this gigantic fucking cannon. And the idea was to shoot the satellites into space. But it never got the funding, and it didn't work out. But I think it would have worked. They say it would have.
I'm worried that the acceleration would be like, these satellites better not be fragile. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think that. I was going to say the fastest theoretically moving human motivated object ever. Do you know what that is? Ooh. Maybe I phrased that like really poorly, but the fastest thing that people have ever made go.
You know what it is? Or something.
They both picked Voyager.
Okay, well, God damn it, we should have picked a different one.
Nah,
that's the only one I know.
They were doing a nuclear test, and it was an underground nuclear test, and on top there was like this like sewer type lid, you know, those big thick heavy sewer the Ninja Turtles are always popping up through them. Anyway, one of those was launched straight up by manhole cover. A manhole cover was accelerated to a theoretical speed by the nuclear blast and never recovered. They just did the math and they said, yeah, we've never made anything go that fucking fast before. Like, we didn't measure it. We didn't have a chronometer on it. Nobody certainly saw it, but we can do the math here and see that, yeah, nothing has ever went that goddamn fast before because of us.
Where did it end up? Just in space?
I don't know where it ended up, and I don't think they do either. Now, the next fastest thing we're going to make, Stephen Hawking and the guys over at NASA are coming up with this very tiny spaceship that they're going to send to fucking Alpha Centauri, to the nearest star, right? It travels.
They were talking, Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about that, and they were saying like, oh, is it going to be a spaceship? And he's like, oh, that's a little generous, almost like a chip. Like
it's going to be the size of like a cereal square. Like it's
anything like a quadcopter. They're actually harder to fly when they're smaller.
Straight line. I don't remember how fast it's going, but it's going like
my kitchen
it's like 1/10 the speed of light or something. It's incredibly fast how fast this thing is going to go. So I found that interesting. You know, I like that stuff. I wish I
do with it.
I think maybe it can send signals back despite its small size, and maybe it could tell us something about an Earth-like planet that's there. They keep finding all these Earth-like planets that are in the quote-unquote Goldilocks zone, which is close enough to the sun to be warm and far enough to still have liquid water, etc. And produce oxygen and all that stuff. But I wish there was some way. Would you guys freeze yourselves if you knew that you could be unfrozen at any time?
If I'm terminally ill, I would.
No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm saying like there's a store next to Starbucks downtown that's completely reputable, and if you give them $100,000, they will freeze you in a thing, and they will wake you up with 0 side effects at any date of your choice.
No, because you can't go back.
Don't want
like you just like you'd wake up, and I think immediately the feeling of like, I'm in the same place, but this isn't my world. Nobody knows me. I don't know anyone. People have forgotten about me. Like, I don't belong. Like, I think very quickly it would go from, wow, TV shows are crazy in the future, to I'm so lonely, I'm just going to kill myself. Like,
I think I make myself some conservative investments, sell everything I own, freeze myself for 150 years. I think that's how long it's going to take before space.
You're going to wake up and the Zune is going to be the big thing. Finally.
God damn it! They've got me naked in the Museum of Art. They're just I've just been there like my cock on display for 100 years, just like I'm modern art. Like I wake up and I'm just like, and a bunch of kids are fucking taking pictures with their their earphones or whatever they've got by then. No, they're just blinking real hard. It's like Rick and Morty. I am not staring at you. I am a photographer. Please act naturally. I am not staring at you. I am a photographer. Please act naturally.
They even staring. Have like you know how they give names to the ancient people, like Lucy. They'll be like, the Georgian, an ancient man. Look at
ancient primate.
You said no. I need to do it as a group. I'm thinking about this. So I've got this motivation. If we jump forward far enough, Colin might get better, right? But like, how do we do this? Because I don't want to be like, all right, 150 years. Sorry, Hope. We're effectively dead for you.
Freeze them all.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, all right. So when do we want to freeze Hope? Right? She's about to head into college, right? Well,
freeze her right now because her college education will be worthless in the future.
Right.
She needs a future college education.
Well, is her high school education going to be worthless, or do you think those fundamentals will carry on?
Those fundamentals will carry on. Math and fucking reading, writing. I mean, we may be speaking fucking Spanish or something, but she'll pick that up.
Yeah. Geography might change.
Yeah.
fewer states to memorize now. Like all those,
Kyle's right about the
states went away.
Investment. Like, dude, getting rich is incredibly easy, right? Any moron can do it. Getting rich in any like reasonable amount of time is very difficult, right? That's the challenge. Anyone can invest like $10 in the S&P 500, wait 10,000 years, and be mega rich, right? That's easy. You can speed things up if you can find $1,000. But, so if Vampire Woody would do very well financially. If I could live 500, 750 years, something like that, then that would be a piece of cake. But actual Woody, you got to get rich while you're still young enough. That's the challenge. That's the trick.
You know what it eventually become like the smart financial choice was to freeze yourself and buy timeshare bonds or whatever the hell. But then, of course,
certificates
that becomes its own kind of Ponzi scheme when everyone's traveling through time and there's like 60 people left trying to keep everybody's machines up and running.
Fuck that. I start unplugging you guys and take your investments. You're like,
you're just a serial killer.
I'm sitting there on the outside. I invented the machines. I'm like, you see this? All these people thought that they found a way to get rich long term. I found out how to do it short term. Jump.
That is the risk.
You think you'll have a lot of money in
the power went out. Oh no. It must have been a surge.
Yeah, the one like time machine guy comes in and it smells like a freezer that's been left open all night.